Hey everybody, and welcome back to the 6th round post-fight show with me, Zane Simon. I'm joined once again, as always, by my co-host Eddie Mercado. We are here talking about this UFC Washington D.C. UFC on ESPN 7 UFC Fight Night Overeem versus Rozenstruik card that just went down at the Capital One Arena in Washington D.C. on Saturday, December 7th, where Rozenstruik got a somewhat controversial 5th round knockout. 4 seconds left in the fight. Rozenstruik lands a 1-2 set of hooks, put Overeem on his ass, turned around, walked away kickboxing style. I mean, I'd say Mark Hunt style, but this really felt less like this guy is out forever and more like, yeah, it's kickboxing. I knocked him down, turned around, waved to everybody, reset, and Mergliata waved it off. What do you think of the stoppage?
First of all, what's up, Zane? I feel like I haven't talked to you in forever.
It has been a minute. I took a couple cards off recently. It's been a couple weeks since UFC's had an event. So, yeah, we haven't done this for a moment.
I miss your voice is what I'm saying.
Oh, thank you.
But, yeah, the stoppage, justified. The second Alistair started to stumble, the referee had every right to step in and protect him from any further damage. Rozenstruik got away with one here, though, because if Alistair would have just stood up, he would have won the fight.
Yep.
So
and that's it. Even at 10-8, I just saw the scorecards on over on Twitter. Or no, they read it out after the fight, and Overeem had won every round on every judge's card up to the 5th. So even if they gave Rozenstruik a 10-8, all Mergliata had to do is not stop that fight, and Overeem would have won it.
Yeah. But his lip got exploded on impact. That was some gross stuff right there. That's one of the worst cuts I've ever seen. That's, ugh.
And I think that's the thing, is that Overeem went down hard. He got up stumbling. His lip was blown wide open. And technically what you want from referees is for them to not make their judgments based on where the round is or who the fighter is or anything like that. You want them to technically treat all situations the same and say, this guy's badly hurt. He's got the kind of facial damage that could be made way worse by taking more blows.
Mm-hmm.
I should step in and stop this fight. Never mind that it's 5 seconds until this guy would win otherwise.
Man, can you imagine if Rozenstruik would have followed up with some punches on the ground to a completely dazed and out of it Alistair Overeem?
Yeah. And the thing is that and I hate to say this because I'm about to say it, he probably should have. I mean, if he hadn't turned his back and walked away and he just landed those follow-up shots, then the stoppage would not be controversial at all.
Alistair would also still be asleep.
He might still be asleep, yes.
Man.
So I'm kind of glad that it went the way it did. I don't blame the ref for it going the way it did. Alistair Overeem has got to be feeling incredibly hard done by, though, right now.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he was completely gassed there in the final round. And can we just go ahead and acknowledge the fact that Rozenstruik just pulled a Derek Lewis?
Yeah, no, he totally did. 100% Black Beast playbook. You wait, you don't do a lot, you stay composed for all fight, you lose all the rounds, and then you come out late and you just pull the trigger on something huge and turn it all around.
Yeah.
Credit to him.
Good on him. And what a ballsy move calling out Francis Ngannou when nobody else does that.
Yeah, I just wish that I wish that Ngannou had fought more recently, because I would love to see that fight get booked. It's awesome that he called him out, but he's talking about March or April, and Ngannou is like, he's pissed off and wanting to fight right now. You know, he's calling out Alexander Volkov, trying to get a fight ASAP. Although it's true, he's also trying to get a fight in France, which that fight, like, that card might not even be happening. So maybe this will work. Maybe if Ngannou is willing to wait, this fight will happen. Because you got to think the UFC is just happy to be like, oh, great, somebody will pick up the phone when we say we want to book Francis Ngannou to fight you.
Yeah, but you got to question whether or not Ngannou would even like want that fight. Not like afraid or anything, but just like where his position is in the rankings and how close he is to a title shot.
High risk, low reward.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I hope they can get something booked for it. I hope, it'd be great if they could make that happen.
They should just throw all the money at him, like all of it. Just blank check them, That needs to happen. As long as it's not like when Derek Lewis fought Ngannou.
Yeah, no, I hope not.
And Derek Lewis is an option. Like, they could fight.
Sure. I mean, the top of the heavyweight division right now is
weird.
Not that booked at the moment, honestly. Like, I know Miocic and Cormier are, mostly looking at each other. And Blades Dos Santos are going to fight, but Ngannou doesn't have a fight booked. Volkov doesn't have a fight booked. And even down further, Sakai, Pavlovich, Ivanov, Abdurakhimov, like a lot of that division is unbooked right now. So,
and you know what? Walt Harris, this was his moment.
It's true.
So maybe that's the logical next step, depending on how long Mr. Harris is going to be away with that horrific family incident that happened, losing his stepdaughter. But yeah, I mean, I would be cool with that as well. Walt is more than down to stand there and bang it out with him.
Yeah, I just can't imagine. Like, I wouldn't bank on trying to push Walt Harris back to fighting right now,
Oh, absolutely.
You don't know where his head's at, what he wants. If he wants to come back and he wants to fight, then, Walt Harris can have any fight he wants in the UFC as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely.
Give the man whatever opportunity he needs. He's been through hell and high water. So,
yeah,
but if he's
definitely
also
tragic, it's definitely tragic. On a much less important note, but still sad, Alistair Overeem did the very best that he could.
Oh yeah,
like the very best. He gave it his all, and like it just wasn't enough. Even though it almost was, it just wasn't.
It was a super controlled, super consistent, very conservative, very smart fight from Overeem all the way through. He fought exactly the right fight. The only thing you could knock him for was that when he had Rozenstruik on his back early, he didn't do more damage, He didn't the kind of big shots we're seeing there, but seeing how tired he got by the 4th and 5th rounds of this fight, you can't really blame him for that,
I mean, you can early on in like the first couple rounds. I think the failing at getting the takedowns was really taxing his gas tank in the later stages of the fight. But I mean, even his corner, Cody Donovan, was in there saying, "Hey, man, you need to when you're on the ground, you're on top. You need to posture up and just start throwing in spurts. Like land a couple punches, then go back to control. Land a couple punches, go back to control." But it was a lot harder for him to get the fight to the ground the more tired he became.
Yeah.
And then he was kind of just a sitting duck there at the end of the 5th. Like you could see it on his face. Like he just he had nothing left.
I mean, that is probably the reason that I feel the least terrible that the fight got called the way it did, is that by the end of the fight, Overeem clearly had nothing left and was really just trying to ride it out. And that sucks for him that he wasn't able to, but it's also, as a sports fan, like you want to see the guy who's still in there try and get rewarded for it,
Yeah, and what's better than someone completely losing a fight and then just coming back at the last second to win it?
Yeah. It's just too bad the fight wasn't more interesting before that, because this main card, like, it wasn't a bad card all the way through. Almost all these fights were interesting for one reason or another, but just given the way all the main card fights went, it did really draw the whole thing out.
It wasn't as bad for me. I know you're a little down on it, but like I was entertained throughout. I was engaged, and I thought it was cool.
I'm not totally down on it. I'm not like hating it. It was just, it really, the
took
main
a lot
event,
of minutes.
Yeah, it used a ton of time to get a lot of results that did not feel satisfying.
Yeah. 2 majority draws. When was the last time that happened?
Yeah.
And then plus all the ball shots in the Rothwell-Struve fight took up so much time also. So, yeah, this really did take all the minutes.
It really did. Not a card that I'm dissatisfied with for any real one particular fight, but definitely it started super hot, and then the latter half of it just kind of cooled a little.
Yeah, that's fair.
Let's get to our co-main event, though. A catchweight bout between Marina Rodriguez and Cynthia Calvillo. Supposed to be at 115 pounds, ended up at 120 because Calvillo blew her weight cut so badly.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, and I don't really know, I don't know what the UFC can do off that, because it's a fight that really, I think, feels like a rematch would be warranted. But if Calvillo really can't make weight, then there's kind of no point.
Yeah, that's true, too. It was a great fight, though.
Yeah.
Despite the botched weight cut by 4.5 pounds?
Yeah. Well, 5.5 if you're being really technical and saying the overage is not the weight limit, it's an allowance.
Right. Yeah. Outside of that, though, I mean, what a tale of two fights. Rodriguez just completely looking so sharp. Man, she could throw her hands. She was looking so sharp on the feet. First 2 rounds was all her, and those knees were just so devastating. It looked like she was about to finish Calvillo a couple times with those knees. But Calvillo hung tough and got a pretty good pep talk from her coaches in between the second and third round. Came out, got the takedown, and just went to town.
That was also a horrible technical error on Rodriguez in there to make that happen, where Calvillo got in on that double leg, and Rodriguez tried to hip toss out of it and just kind of turn her and end up on top in mount, and Calvillo just drove straight through her to put her on her back.
I think she did that in the first round too.
Yeah.
But was able to get out of harm's way. But man, she took a beating there in the third.
Yeah, she really did.
Credit to Calvillo for hanging tough and weathering the first 2 rounds, coming back and actually being able to dish out enough damage to score a 10-8 round.
Yeah, I mean, all credit to Calvillo. She earned that 10-8. It was a great fight. And it's like I say, it's the kind of fight I want to see a rematch of, because both women had things that they really needed to work on and take away from that. Steman versus Song Yadong. I don't actually really feel like I need to see that fight again. We'll get to it a little later, but
yeah, that was a majority draw for a different reason.
Yeah,
not because of how competitive the fight was.
Yeah, this felt more like, I don't know. Is Rodriguez going to come out and defend takedowns better if we replay this? Is Calvillo going to come out and
on weight
have a better game plan or wrestle more? I want to see.
Yeah, definitely more intrigue there and more relevancy. They're both ranked, gunning for the top, more on the line.
But Calvillo's got to make weight. There's no way to replay that fight if she's going to come in 5 pounds over again.
Did she have to give up 30% of her purse?
Mm-hmm.
That's so steep.
Yeah.
But that much weight being botched is downright disrespectful.
It really is. So, weird spot. Might end up with Calvillo at flyweight for her trouble, but it would be nice if they could be able, if she can get the weight down, if she can figure out her cut, it'd be great to see that fight back at back at strawweight again, to play it back and see if one of these women can really push toward contention next year.
As for Rodriguez, this is her second majority draw in the UFC.
Yeah, no kidding.
What?
It's really
How's that
wild.
Even a thing?
And the weird thing is that they're polar opposite majority draws.
Yeah.
Where in the Randa Marcos fight, she got swamped for the first round and then turned it around and won the last 2. And then this one, she wins the first 2 and then gets totally outworked for the last one.
Kind of crazy.
Definitely.
Speaking of crazy.
Yeah, that brings us to the heavyweight fight. Ben Rothwell, Stefan Struve, and man, like...
I feel so bad for Struve.
Yeah. I feel bad for Alistair Overeem, but in the nature of competition, like, it's just gonna, he had bad luck. That happens. Struve, like, none of this was supposed to happen to him. He's not supposed to get kicked in the balls really hard twice. And especially like Rothwell afterwards saying he chipped his toenail paint, so he knows he must have kicked him hard.
And I feel like the worst part is Murgliata coercing him into continuing the fight when Struve was obviously hurt. Looked like he didn't really want to continue after the first ball shot. Second round comes, another ball shot, and Struve really looked like he was done. And Murgliata's just like, hey, man, it'll be a no contest. You better go, which I don't think is true. I think they go to the scorecards, don't they, if it's after halfway in the second round?
I'm not sure. It depends on the commission. I think I saw somebody saying that for that commission, it might be that it would have to be all the way through the second round to see a technical decision.
I feel like Murgliata was crossing the line there. He was like, hey, you won the first 2 rounds. Come on, there's only like a minute and some change left. Like, you don't want a no contest? Well, a no contest is better than a loss.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough because I think a lot of times referees, and, you've heard them talk about it too, like, they really want to encourage the best fight possible. A lot of referees, like, they feel very paternalistic about their fights that they ref.
Yeah.
And so, like, you hear when Big John was reffing, like, you'd hear him being, like, all fatherly and hand on the shoulder, like, giving you a stern talking to with fighters all the time.
Oh, for sure.
And he is literally, like, the model on which most major MMA reffing is based on. So it's not...
I'll never forget when Big John grabbed Cowboy Oliveira by the mouth and was like, don't you do that anymore.
Yeah.
And really gave him a, like you said, a stern talking to. But, like, I don't feel like this was that. Like, their job's to protect the fighters, not, like, encourage them to fight when they maybe shouldn't. Yeah,
I'm just saying that, when you have that kind of attitude of, like, that kind of paternal attitude, when it bleeds downhill and gets diluted, it changes form a little. You get people who take it a different way, who want to think about trying to keep the fight as fun or as interesting as possible, or they don't want the fight to stop. They don't want something weird to have gotten in the way of the fight. They want everybody to feel like they got to fight all the way through it. And you end up with this, and
Murgliata felt bad when he had to stop the fight with 3 seconds left in the second round.
Yeah.
Like, you could tell he didn't want to. But, like, he had to.
Yep.
Like, it was the right call to stop the fight, just like the Overeem thing. Like, you have to stop it no matter how much time's left.
Yep. It's really rough for Struve, though. And too, though, that, like, coming out of retirement for this fight, that's only going to push him that much harder to get back in the cage. Because he's absolutely going to feel like he did not get any kind of satisfaction out of it.
Wait, he retired after his fight in February?
Uh-huh.
Jeez, he's on that Tito Ortiz path as many times as he's retired and unretired. That's like Alexander Gustafsson status.
Okay, just saw that Rozenstruik actually did win the 4th round on 2 scorecards. I've just been notified that he did win the 3rd round on 2, or the 4th round on 2 cards. So if he'd gotten a 10-8 in round 3, he could have still pulled out a draw, but.
Man, Alistair's got that why so serious face.
Yeah.
Poor guy.
But, he retired after winning in that fight in February against Marcos Rogerio de Lima, and then came back for this. Yeah,
he was heated. He definitely was not happy with this, and rightfully so. I mean, it's like one of the unfortunate parts of the sport is there's nothing you can really do about ball shots.
Mm-mm.
It just, I don't know. And the pressure to win.
I'm not even saying that Rothwell didn't kick him hard, but it didn't look like so incredibly hard. It's such a sensitive area that any contact there can, ruin your whole day.
I mean, I've sat on my balls before and was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
So, like, I get it. I totally get it.
Yeah. You can never look at it and just be like, oh, that didn't really land that hard.
I hate that. That's the worst.
Yeah.
And like DC was saying, like, they're heavyweights.
Mm-hmm.
These are gigantic men out here. So a kick from them to the jewels is unacceptable.
Rough fight. Also, not a fight I really need to see played back, though. Like, I don't need to see a rematch out of that.
Struve was winning the fight too. He was doing great. Leg kicks, head kicks.
Yeah.
Wobbled Rothwell at one point. He was doing everything right, and then took a shot.
I'm sure this will encourage him to get back in there. Like, no question.
I hope so. Unless he's just like, man, F this. Like, this sport's whack. I'm out of here.
Nah, that's the kind of fight that's just going to absolutely be like, I had this. I was winning. I am totally unsatisfied with this. I need to get back in there and fight again. You can tell. That brings us to a women's bantamweight bout. Aspen lad Yana Kunitskaya, and talk about motivational coaching.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I didn't even hear what was said. I just heard the corner or the announcers talking about it and saw people talking about it after Ladd came out to start the third, and everybody's like, oh man, they really his coach really lit into her there. And then she just came out and whooped Kunitskaya. Yeah,
came out, landed that heavy left hand, dropped Kunitskaya, and just went full savage. And I love when she throws her ground strike. She sounds off with just this wicked primal kind of just cry. Mm-hmm. And it's like, oh, that's sinister. Like that's some evil stuff right there.
Yeah. Somebody that quiet, they've got a lot of pent up rage to deal with.
It's scary. Like, it's downright scary.
Mm-hmm. And she's like, once again, it just shows she may not always, she may not have like the perfect elite technique that you want out of a potential title contender, but she's got a ton of physicality to her game.
Yeah, she's definitely physical, and she's down to fight, and she listens to her coaches. She's coachable. And
it'd be fun to see her get to step in there with like Juliana Pena next.
Sure.
That'd be a great fight, because Pena is kind of the same. Very physical, very dominating fighter when the fight goes her way, and not always the cleanest technical fighter when it doesn't.
Man, what a way to just finish the fight. Like, it's the third round. It's been kind of a back and forth fight. A grueling fight. Like, I don't think she expected Kunitskaya to be as strong in the clinch as she was.
Yeah, I don't think I did either, honestly.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe I have a different impression of Kunitskaya, because the first time I saw her, I think she fought Cyborg in her debut.
Yeah,
she did fairly well in the clinch, and I was like, wow, you're doing this well against someone this strong. Like, okay.
Yeah.
So, like, that's kind of burned into my brain with her clinch game. And, like, I saw her out at Tiger Muay Thai last December, so I know she's been working her clinch.
Mm-hmm.
I was just kind of expecting her to be pretty strong, so I was a little shocked that Ladd was the one initiating the clinch.
I wasn't surprised about that. I mean, I was happy to see Ladd do it so early, because the big fault for her has honestly been that a lot of times she settles for a range kickboxing battle for a whole round before she starts trying to tie people up and take them down. And I think Jermaine Durandamy really kind of put a stop to that. And you could see it in this fight. She just came out and she's like, okay, I better not just hang out and try to kickbox people and practice my boxing on people anymore.
Yeah, what a way to bounce back after that 16-second loss.
Yeah.
That's how you come back.
Yep. Great win for her. Puts her right back in that circle of, of fighters biting for a chance at the title, where right now with women's bantamweight, it's kind of whoever has the right win on the right day is going to get the next shot. There's no clear contenders in that division. So.
No, it's not. It's like whoever Amanda Nunes decides to fight. It's kind of how it is.
Yeah. So it could be Ladd, you know? You never know. That brings us to a bantamweight bout. Cody Stamann, Song Yadong, and I do have some trouble not feeling like Stamann got robbed here.
I thought Stamann won.
Yep.
I mean, how can you not? I don't think he was ever hurt at all in the fight. He was the one pushing the action. He was the one getting the takedowns completely. Like, Yadong was competitive in the grappling department, like, up until the final round. And then it was just all Stamann.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a little confused on how this was a draw. Especially with a point deduction in the first round.
Yeah. I mean, they gave Song Yadong the first round, and to be fair to Yadong, he and Stamann did have like totally equal strikes landed in round one, but almost nobody who was watching it live, other than those two judges, thought that Song Yadong won the round as well as getting a point deducted. But two judges did, and that's all it took.
But I feel like the second round I gave to Stamann.
Yeah, nobody else gave it to Stamann on that one.
I gave it to Stamann. I thought he did the better work.
You're living alone on that one. I can't help you there. Song Yadong, he definitely outlanded Stamann. Stamann did get takedowns, but I think that was a pretty consistent score that Yadong won round 2 and Stamann won round 3, and it was just everybody thought that Stamann won round 1 as well. But either way, it definitely did not feel, no matter how you wanted to like parse the rounds, it did not feel in any way like a fight Stamann or a fight Yadong won.
Well, Stamann was pretty nonchalant about not getting the nod.
Yeah.
That was a little surprising. He seems like he would be a little heated.
Maybe he got hit harder than it looked like. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe. Like, I just don't remember him eating any really big punches. Like, he ate one, like, elbow there at the end of the second round, but other than that, like, I can't recall, like, a single, like, oh, my God, he just got clobbered strike that was thrown by Yadong. So...
No, in fact, I kind of thought all throughout the fight that Yadong looked like he was kind of had a big adrenaline dump and was really antsy.
Well, it seemed like after the point was deducted, that's when like all his mojo went away.
Well, I also think even before the point was deducted, I think Stamann might have busted his nose up. Because I noticed Yadong was breathing through his mouth for most of that fight. And he just seemed jittery, and I think that's why he threw the illegal knee. It just seemed like he was really jittery all fight. Like, I noticed he was dropping into mid-range, but not the pocket, and then throwing these wild hooks that were still like 6 inches away from landing, and then getting popped on the counter. And he looked off.
Yeah, weird fight.
Like I say, I don't really need to see it again. It's not a fight I want played back. I'd rather see Stamann take a step forward and, I don't know, get to fight like, John Dodson or Cody Garbrandt or something like that, and let Song Yadong take a step back and fight like Casey Kenny or something.
Yeah, I mean, anyone really. I would watch Stamann fight anyone. Because it's such a unique kind of style that he brings. Like, he's such a powerhouse, and he's coming to take you down. And if you can't deal with that, you're gonna have trouble.
Yeah.
So
just saying the UFC should treat him like a winner here and treat Song Yadong like he kind of took a tough loss.
What about Rob Font? Rob Font could fight him.
True. Yeah. Rob Font, Cody Stamann would be a great fight. But well, speaking of which, Rob Font put on a fantastic performance against Ricky Simon.
Yeah, man, the jab of Font was just there all night. Like, I loved how he worked off it. When he did get taken down, he was able to get back up without sustaining much damage, and just was really throwing the volume. He did get hit a couple times, but I mean, you're throwing that kind of volume, you kind of expect it, and he dealt with it really well, and he got crafty. And when he did come with his cross behind the jab, it was really hitting flush, and he fought a smart fight, and he looked pretty good out there.
Yeah, he came out. He started pushing Simone back immediately, which, for as much trouble as Font has had with fighters that pressure him before, that was really smart and really important to him. Fought behind the jab, really important, and scrambled back to his feet immediately every time he got taken down, because that's the thing is Simone got all the takedowns he needed to win this fight.
Yeah.
He really did. He took Font down 4 times, I think. Six times. He got 6 takedowns in this fight. That's more than enough to win. But he could never hold him down. And that's all credit to Font.
How about Font getting the one takedown there at the start of the first round? No one saw that coming.
Came right out of the gate, and he put Simone on his heels. Just absolutely knew what he had to do to keep Simone from backing him up and just shooting on him over and over again. So,
and with that kind of ability to get back to your feet, like, that makes the Cody Stamann fight even more exciting and interesting for me.
Yeah. It's not a bad option at all for both men, honestly.
Man. I really like the volume that Font was throwing, though. Sorry. He was throwing really nice head kicks. Like, he just looked so sharp on his feet.
No, absolutely. He landed more significant strikes than just about anybody on this card. Only Mahmoud Muradov had more.
Mm.
And
he looked freaking great, too.
Yeah. Font landed total strikes. He landed 100 out of 212 total strikes. Wow. 90 out of 202 significant strikes. So, it's a pretty high connect rate. A lot of volume. Just looked really sharp. Great fight from him. Capping off the prelim card, Tim Means put it on Thiago Alves. And honestly, I know it was only a couple minutes into the fight, but right before Alves got dropped, I was like, man, Thiago Alves is looking sharp tonight.
I know. He was hurting Means. He had him wobbled there for a second.
Yeah.
Means couldn't get the takedown. He was shooting in like he didn't want to be on the feet anymore.
Yeah. Alves, he looked clean. He looked in control. He was landing counters every time Means stepped in. And then Means just countered the left hook. He met the left hook with his own right hand and then countered inside it with the straight left of his own and sat him down hard, and that was the end.
Yeah, credit to Tim Means for swinging that momentum when it looked like it was going to be a rough night for him.
Yeah.
Pulled it out. My dude's got over 40 fights. Like, that's insane. Both of these guys have a ton of fights.
Yeah, Thiago Alves, he's got 38 now total, 23 wins, 15 losses. I think recently he said he wanted to finish his career with like 45 fights.
That's nuts.
Unfortunately, he's probably going to be finishing it outside the UFC since that was the last fight on his contract, and I don't think the UFC is going to be re-upping it.
Yikes. They might try to lowball him and be like, hey, if you want to stick around the UFC, you're going to have to take a little pay cut.
Alves was already talking about he wanted to test the free market, though, so
he'll go over to Bellator to die, like so many others. It's true.
Hey, there's always bare knuckle.
Oh, man. He would be like the biggest UFC name to go to bare knuckle if that was the case.
Yeah, he might be. Well, no, Johny Hendricks has.
Oh, Johnny did that?
Yep.
I forgot about him.
Yeah, well, that's kind of the sad story of Johny Hendricks after dropping his title.
He just became forgettable.
Yeah.
What's his name again? He's like in that Luke Rockhold territory.
Oh, no. Poor Luke.
I know.
At least Luke can fall back on his looks.
This is true.
That brings us to a featherweight bout. Billy Quarantillo, Jacob Kilburn, and I have rarely seen more deserving black belt promotions in the UFC, but that was a complete grappling clinic from Billy Quarantillo.
Complete domination. Excellent. The jiu-jitsu on display was phenomenal. Like, just when you thought he was going to lose the top position, he'll like take the back, and like he did everything he wanted to do. Like, total control. And like, that's the point of grappling, is controlling your opponent. And he did that for pretty much every minute, every second of this fight. And like, did it while throwing all the strikes. Like, all the strikes.
A fight that went over a round and a half, he outlanded Kilburn 74-3 in significant strikes and 139-6 in total strikes. That's off of one credited takedown.
Wow.
Yeah. It was a complete shit kicking in every sense of the word.
And it's crazy because the fight ended in submission, but like this, that doesn't tell the story. Like, this was not a submission match. This was serious ground and pound. That I almost feel like Quarantillo just took pity and showed mercy by just going for the submission. Because I feel like he could have submitted this dude way earlier in the fight, but just opted to just pound him repeatedly and just get it out of his system. It was like the dude owed him money or something.
I think I tweeted live while I was watching it. It was like he caught him in his room playing his drum set. It's your younger brother. You come home and you're like, the hell are you doing in my room? And just that kind of ass kicking.
Yeah, it was bad. This is a pretty bad beating. Credit to Kilburn. I mean, tons of heart and tons of toughness, but that was really about it in this fight.
Yeah, he didn't have any other choice. I mean, it was show all the heart or lose that much faster. He
had ways out. You know,
True.
There were those rear naked choke attempts that he could have just said, you know what, this ain't for me tonight. I'm gonna go ahead and lick my wounds, call it a day, and come back at another time. But he took his beating like a man.
Hell of a win for Quarantillo. Great debut for him.
Crazy debut. Like, who debuts like that?
No, I know. Really pretty ridiculous. That brings us to a catchweight bout, though, and a submission of the year contender.
Oh, yeah.
From Bryce Mitchell over Matt Sales. And Mitchell hitting the twister. And just, I love that in the fight you could see it starting. Everybody could see it. The announcers could see it. Watching at home, you could be like, oh, is he going for the twister? Matt Sales could not see it, and that was just like pure death knell.
It's almost as if Sales thought he was going for some funky arm bar when he like dragged the arm across his body and was like, no, I'll go for this headlock here. And
Sales like, had no idea, and that is just that's a gorgeous thing to see out of a submission, because, you know, most MMA fighters, even Matt Sales, might be a pretty decent enough grappler. Most fighters, they know what all the submissions they're going to get caught in look like. They know when you're going for the arm triangle. They know when you're going for the triangle. They know when you're going for the rear naked choke, for the guillotine, all that. But nobody expects a twister. It is the Spanish Inquisition of submission threats. And, man, Sales, he got caught.
This was gorgeous. And, like, beyond the submission and how ultra rare it is and how awesome it is, Mitchell was just looking phenomenal on the ground. Like, his grappling was just gorgeous. There was this one sequence where he was in full mount and he took the back and then, like, went right back to full mount in just this seamless transition that was, I mean, it was poetry in motion.
That's
not
what
to be lame about it, but this was poetry in motion.
Yeah. That's what got him that twister too, is that he could see, he kept, you know, he was floating between mount and back so well, but every time he would transition to the back, Sales would get on his knees and start to get up and initiate a scramble. And, you know, Mitchell just kept working that transition. And somewhere in the middle of that transition, he just ended up with both his legs around one of Sale's legs and just in that perfect position. And he started cinching up that twister and got it. And that was just, it's a thing of beauty.
Yeah. Right before the fight, I tweeted out, what's the over and under for how many times Mitchell's going to say Arkansas on the mic? I think he only said it 4 times this go around.
I hope
he's also 3-0 in the UFC, by the way.
Yeah, no, he has run out a great record to start his UFC career, and honestly, like if his ground game can keep developing like that, he could be a hell of a threat. He's wild enough and dedicated to aggression enough that if he can put people in danger every time they're on the mat with him, he can afford to be that kind of crazy standing up.
Do you think he'll get his camo shorts from Reebok?
No.
Nah. Oh.
Not unless he gets to be a champ. If he gets to be title contender, then maybe they'll start listening. Until then, they're just, Reebok's not watching UFC prelims.
No, you're right. You're right.
Sorry, Bryce.
Dana White doesn't even watch UFC prelims.
He's out at the casino throwing some chips out.
Well, no, he's in Saudi Arabia for the Anthony Joshua Ruiz rematch.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, no, he's not here. That brings us to a lightweight bout. Joe Solecki, Matt Wyman, and I don't know what UFC thought they were doing with this fight.
Old guard versus new guard. I mean, but what do you do with a Matt Wyman?
Let him go?
Like it's favors. I feel like it's just favors.
Yeah, I get that, but it just the Luis Pena fight told everyone what they needed to know, which was that Matt Wyman still looks and fights and feels like a fighter from 2010 in the cage. And he's just not going to compete with the modern game at all. Pena's a decent prospect at lightweight, but he's not the amazing creme de la creme of all-time prospects. And he just ragdolled Wyman around the cage like a child.
More like 2006.
Yeah, fair. And then, Solecki is no different. He just hit every takedown he wanted and easily out-grappled him all the way through and pounded on him for two rounds and 4 minutes, right up until Wyman hit that sweep and then just went all, mental case on him.
Why did Wyman get back in the UFC anyways?
He never left. That was the thing, is that his contract, he stayed on his contract while he was injured and just rehabbed for years, and then the UFC is letting him fight out his contract, I guess. Okay, so
he's super cheap then, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
If he's still on that 2014 contract, he's
got the 2K money.
Yeah. So that's probably your answer right there as to why.
I guess, but it just I don't know. I mean, I get that there's this off chance it could be this great return story and all that, but it's kind of sad.
No, the sport's passed him by for sure.
Yeah. And especially him just going all almost headbutting, rubbing his forehead into Solecki's face and yelling at him. It's just what is this, man?
Yeah, the end of the fight especially was super weird.
Yeah.
He just gets up and he's like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do?
Yeah.
Dude, you just got owned for 14 minutes and 50 seconds. Stop. You're embarrassing yourself.
Yeah. So, debut win for Solecki. Probably the last time we see Matt Wyman in the cage, but who knows? Maybe he's got some pictures. Maybe he's got some dirt on somebody. Maybe he's got, he's got some shots of Sean Shelby in a bar doing something wild.
Nah, it'd have to be like Joe Silva. He's got dirt on Joe Silva.
That's true.
Bringing it back old school.
All right. That brings us to a women's strawweight bout. Verna Jandiroba, Mallory Martin, and pretty quality showing from Jandiroba. Knew what fight she needed to get, got it.
Yeah, she looked really good there. Really good on the ground. Martin just kept using guillotines to defend the takedown and then holding on to them for way too long once she was on the ground. I'm surprised she didn't get Von Flued, honestly.
Yeah, no kidding.
The way this fight was going, I was like, man, she's going to get Von Flued. She just refuses to let go of this guillotine, even though she's not even close to getting it. But, yeah, Jandiroba is she's legit on the ground.
It's kind of wild to see fighters in 2019 still defending takedowns with a guillotine is like the go-to for their defense.
I mean, because I think it's because it works in training. You know, day in and day out. Like I hit training. I'll hit guillotines to defend takedowns, and like it works. And you're like, oh, that works. Okay, I can hit that. But like when you're at a certain level, fighting a certain caliber of opposition, in like a real scenario, like an actual fight, it's not worth the risk 9 times out of 10 to put yourself on the bottom.
Yeah.
Like, look at Dustin Poirier and Khabib. Same thing. And I mean, I even asked Poirier before that, and he was like, yeah, you got to risk it for the biscuit. So like he knew he was going to jump the guillotine if it was there. But it's just the sport has come so far to where people know how to defend the guillotine. You don't let them get full guard. You go to side control. You pop your head out. You know, it's
and like at some point too, you got to look at your record. You got to look at yourself in the mirror and say like, is the guillotine my move? You know,
right? You're Pedro Munoz. By all means, jump the guillotine.
If you're Uriah Faber, sure, give it a shot. But Dustin Poirier has exactly 0 wins by guillotine. You know?
Yeah, but he has hit it in other fights.
He's never hit it for a win.
Not for a win, but he's definitely used it to get back to his feet.
Yeah. It's just he's also used it to get taken down. At some point you gotta metagame it a little. And
yeah. And we're also talking about him against the very best grappling lightweight that there is.
Oh, sure. No, I'm not saying I'm going to fight Khabib. I'm not going to do it better. I'm just saying that there is a metagame there, and the metagame is generally that if you're using a guillotine to defend a takedown, you're probably just going to get taken down.
But I mean, I appreciate his honesty. I mean, I asked him point blank to his face, and he's like, yeah, I'll jump the guillotine.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, good on you. And he did, and didn't work out.
No.
But even Dustin Poirier is a way higher caliber than Mallory Martin.
That's what I'm saying. It's like it exists through all levels. You know, you see it. It's not just on Mallory Martin to do this. It's crazy. You see it all throughout. Still, it's a win Jandiroba needed. She got a real tough ask in her debut being matched up with Carla Esparza.
Oh, yeah.
And so this gets her back on the horse and gets her a chance to establish herself as a potential prospect and threat in the division. So good win for her.
She definitely still looks sketchy on the feet.
Oh, yeah.
Standing.
No, her striking is clunky, and it is going to be very much a thing where she gets to survive for a while because there aren't that many people who can hurt her at 115 pounds.
Yeah.
But there are a couple, and sometimes a couple is all it takes.
Yeah, but definitely solid win. Good showing.
Yep.
Pretty grappling.
Before that, opening the card, Mahmoud Muradov, Trevor Smith, and this was an absolute start-to-finish clinic from Muradov.
Oh, he looks so good. His boxing is it's so just technically sound, and the way he throws his combinations, and he's just all the way there the whole time. It's almost as if he's hitting pads.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's so rare to see.
And he's got some real honestly elite speed for the middleweight division, like it's enough speed that matching him up with Trevor Smith, you're just like, he's going to be way too fast. Just way too fast. And all fight he's way too fast. It's not.
Oh yeah.
It's not even a close. And I know Smith is a pretty slow middleweight, but you see some guys where you're like, oh yeah, well, Elias Theodorou is faster than Trevor Smith, and he was able to kind of outwork him and whatever. But Muradov is way faster, much more on that Uriah Hall speed kind of levels.
Yeah. Very fast twitch muscle fibers going on there. And I loved how he uses his movement, really in and out, slick boxing. He's attacking the body, attacking the head in the same combination. And he didn't let up either.
Yeah.
Smith started to slow down and Muradov's like, oh, word? Well, I'm going to turn it up. And came up with a just spectacular third round knockout.
Just gorgeous.
Seeing him do that into the third round is just that's a really good sign. His technique wasn't deteriorating as the fight went on.
No, if anything, he looked more comfortable throwing longer combinations. I mean, that punch that knocked Smith out was he feinted a left to the body, came up with a right hook to the left side to the body, then came up with a left over the top, and then that right hook that just knocked Smith absolutely cold.
Yeah. This is film that you show people. This is how you strike.
Yeah. It's pretty textbook stuff. And the fact that he's willing to stay and able to stay so dedicated to his footwork and his jab all fight and work on it and build combinations all throughout the fight behind it. That is the kind of thing paired with elite athleticism. That's the kind of fighting that tends to make somebody a future title contender.
Yeah. So his nickname's Mock.
Yeah.
And it's like a double entendre because his first name's Mahmoud, but Mock Speed.
Yeah. Yep.
I like it.
No, he's a fun fighter, and he's clearly got the talent that he could go far in that division, especially a division like middleweight, which even if all he's doing is boxing, and he clearly does some other things as well. I'm not saying that that's all he does, but even if the principal thing is that he's doing is boxing, he can run through 4 or 5, 6 fighters that are just going to match up perfectly with his boxing game and be a top 5, top 10 guy.
I feel like he would start Shoeface today.
Yeah.
Derek Brunson would probably get knocked out.
That's the thing, is that the middleweight division, it will reward a very limited, dedicated skill set. If you're a good enough athlete and you're tough enough, you can find a whole string of fighters that will just perfectly allow you to show off the thing you do best over and over and over again. So
it seems like he's got some losses earlier in his career. So it's It seems like he ironed out a lot of kinks and is now just really coming into his own. And this might be his time to make a run.
I mean, there's a lot to be said, even, you talk about going the Conor McGregor route, not the late career Conor McGregor route, obviously, but the early career Conor McGregor route where you take 5 or 6 years to get to the UFC and to make that big step up in competition, and you just fight a bunch regionally, get a lot of competition, get a lot of wins, get a lot of experience, and by the time you hit the big show, you're actually ready. He's 29 years old. He's been fighting since 2012. His game is clicking perfectly right now. You don't need to try to build you're not trying to coach yourself up to being an elite fighter at a level where everybody you're facing has been doing this for a decade.
Yeah. And he won a performance bonus tonight.
Yeah.
So that's definitely a good sign.
He and Mitchell and Font and Simone for fight of the night. So bonuses were handed out well tonight. Great submission, great knockout, and a fun bantamweight scrap.
Absolutely.
all said, at the end of the day, Rozenstruik, we want to see him fight Ngannou, but with Spring a long way off, really just any ranked heavyweight will do. Honestly, this is a great win to get him established in the division. Now I just want to see him fight dudes, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think Overeem exposed the fact that he could be taken down.
Sure, yeah.
So guys like Curtis Blades would have a field day. But on the same token, he also proved that all it takes is one, and he can Derek Lewis you. So you're never safe until the fight's over. And
how many guys like Curtis Blades are there in the heavyweight division?
Yeah, really.
You know?
Like it's few and far between.
Yeah.
Until you get to the very top. Until you're talking like DC, Stipe.
Yeah.
That's really about it, honestly.
Yeah. There are a bunch of other fighters who can hit the occasional takedown, but you can't bank on it as the core of their game and say, like, oh, you fight Alexey Oleinik and he's just going to take you down every time. No, he's probably going to let you take him down and choke you if you do.
Right.
But same with Shamil Abdurakhimov or Blagoy Ivanov or Augusto Sakai, Sergey Pavlovich. Like, they can, but whether or not they will, it's not, you can't bank on it like, oh, these dudes are all just straight wrestlers that are going to dominate you with wrestling. So,
and I mean, you can always be like, well, Arlovsky's always been known for not having the best chin. Overeem's a glass cannon.
Yeah.
What's he going to do against someone that can take a punch?
Yeah. I mean, and that's why I say is I just want to see him again. The Ngannou fight is cool, but I really just want to see him in there against any other ranked heavyweight.
Anyone top 5?
Nah, I don't care. Just, put him in there against Augusto Sakai. Put him in there against Alexander Volkov. Put him in there against, you talking about Walt Harris or something. Anybody in the top 10, Well,
I mean, I'll watch him fight anybody, honestly.
Yeah.
Like
He's
anyone.
a fun dude. He's had very few MMA fights. I just want to see him go.
I'd watch him fight 2 people at the same time.
There you go. Get them. They're not doing anything with the flyweight division right now anyway. Stack them up.
Oh, man. If only.
All right. We're far afield now. So on that note, I'm going to close the show. You can find me on Twitter at the Zane Simon. You can find Eddie on Twitter at the Eddie Mercado. Thanks everyone for joining us, and we will see you next time.